Hey, great day, y'all. In this video, we will be talking about 7 things you want to consider before you add coaching to your mental health business. Hey, y'all. Welcome back. My name is Dr. TK, clinical psychologist and therapist business coach, and I am really excited to talk about this topic. This is definitely a trending topic. It has been for a long time for mental health providers, so much so where your girl is going to be using her phone today for some notes because I do not want to leave out anything. This is a fun topic, but it also is a serious one because I'm all about making sure that you protect your license. So let's go ahead and hop in. So number 1 is you do want to have clear boundaries between what is therapy and what is coaching. Now, I come from my version of old school mental health, which means that when I went to school, y'all, I was introduced to the DSM-3, DSM-4, TR, 5. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's been a while. So what I'm getting at is when I first was introduced to the DSM, we had something called the GAF, G-A-F, Global Assessment Functioning Scale or something like that. So the reason I'm bringing that up is that it's very similar to a grading scale, right? What would your parents, if they believe that you should do good in school, right? What did your parents deem as a fail beyond an F? It was potentially a D, maybe even a C. So according to the GAF score in mental health, if someone was 70 or above, they were functional. It doesn't mean that they don't have any impairments, but they were functional. If they were 69 and below, they would automatically qualify for mental health services, of course, with symptomology and, things like that. So I'm bringing that up as it relates to a coaching business, because when you think about someone who, let's just say, comes to your website, they see that you offer therapy and coaching. They may have some futuristic things they want to focus on in their professional life, in their career. They want to build up their confidence and be able to have a mate. But then they also have about 5 big old bags over here. And the reason why they may not be able to show up and find a mate and have confidence is because they have anxiety. They've suffered from trauma. So the wording even, which we'll get into in another point, can definitely help people decipher which type of services they should be in. But this is a thing. Ethically, we should not let the general public decide which services, if we have both, that they're going to get. We can say no. So if you do a consultation with someone and they come in through coaching and they say, I want to focus on all this future stuff, and you ask them a few questions about where have been their areas of setback, obstacles, what are some things they've tried that have worked and not worked. And they start highlighting all of these red flags that sound like a therapy client. If it sounds like a duck and it walks like a duck and it talks like a duck, it's a duck. The duck is they need to be in therapy, okay? So don't be fooled by, oh, this is a shorter container. This is more money. The problem is now you've put this person who has all this baggage into futuristic stuff. And see, we're going to have a problem in another one of these points because the client ain't going to be able to tell the difference. So you need to figure out your own definition. And that's why I brought up the gap is, are you spending more time focused on the symptomology that's keeping somebody at a 69 or below? Or are you focused on someone who's at an 80 most of the time? It doesn't mean they don't suffer from anxiety, but that's not the focal point of your coaching services. If that's the case, they need to be in therapy. So you want to clearly define what is coaching, what is therapy, and also that you will not see one client in one and then cross them over to the next. Okay? Some therapists are doing that. We're going to talk about that in another video because, it's getting real out here. I've heard some things. All right, let's go on to number 2. You do want to avoid dual relationships. So I kind of gave you a sneak peek in number 1. So let me just read this. Engaging with clients in multiple roles, such as both their therapist and their coach, or therapist and business consultant, can create conflicts of interest. Therapists should maintain clear professional boundaries to avoid impairing objectivity or risking exploitation of clients. So let's talk about exploitation. Coaching clients can give you a testimonial in the middle of services. You don't even call it treatment, right? Therapy clients, it's unethical, according to the APA Ethics Code, that you actually ask them for a testimonial. Now, clearly in our programs, I'm an APA certified instructor, so I would never tell you anything to do that's unethical. But there are certain things that you can do ethically to talk about online of what you do in treatment without saying what your clients are doing in treatment, right? There's a way you can do that. However, you don't want to start mixing up what you do with coaching versus therapy clients and treating them the same. Exploitation would be, oh my gosh, for therapy client, I would like to get more clients. Can you give me a testimonial of what we've been doing in therapy? No, you cannot. No, you cannot. Now, let's just say you decide unethically to cross over a therapy client to a coaching client. I've given this on a past podcast. By far, this is the topic or the scenario that sticks the most with our community. Sally sees you in therapy for 2 years. She went through a breakup. She dealing with confidence. She wants to have a child. She, took off in her career, whatever, right? And now Sally is popping. She got her confidence. She loved herself. She got her glow up popping. She good. She been good for 6 months. And you're like, come on, Sally. So Sally recognizes you online talking about you do coaching for confidence to date. And she like, can I see you? And you like, okay. So you see her over in coaching. Sally's good. She start dating, having a good time. Sally meets someone and everything is going great until it's not. And Sally has a breakdown. Sally starts feeling a little bit anxious. Sally starts to have panic attacks. And you find yourself every time you're talking to Sally, because you done crossed her over to coaching, you start feeling like you need to create a treatment plan. You start using language like you're doing cognitive behavioral therapy. Oh, wait, her trauma starts coming up from her old relationships. Now you got to do brain spotting. Well, last time I checked, that's not coaching. That's therapy. But guess what? Sally can't tell the difference because Sally at one point had you as her therapist. It's your responsibility to not confuse clients. So don't move a therapy client over to coaching and don't move a coaching client over to therapy. Period. Let's just go on to the next one. All right. Number 3 is you definitely want to have informed consent. If you're doing coaching, some form of a coaching agreement that talks about the scope of your practice. Now, here's the thing. People are going to research you. They're going to look you up. They're going to see that you do therapy. Sometimes based on if you have more content out there around you being a therapist than a coach, they're going to start seeing you as a therapist first. It's just by human nature, right? They may even start talking to you like you're their therapist, even though they never went to you for therapy at all. So you want to make sure that in your agreement, you're acknowledging that you're a mental health provider, but you're their coach. If you choose, talk to an attorney, talk to your malpractice. You have hours in a year of free consultation. Use it, right? But you do want to explain to them, if the conversation comes up, that even though you are a therapist, you're not their therapist, you're their coach. And this, whatever's in the scope of practice, is what you're focusing on. And this is why I actually will highly, highly suggest, I know it's hard as a therapist to step outside your comfort zone, but this is why I encourage you to find something different to coach someone on than what you do therapy on. If your niche statement sounds exactly the same for therapy and for coaching, we have a serious problem. So you want some type of formal agreement in which the client can read it, you can talk about it, and it will outline your scope of practice of what you will or will not do. And look, there's nothing wrong with if your client is starting to become a Sally, and let's just say you were not her therapist in the beginning, there's nothing wrong with talking to your coaching client about, hey, I think it's time that maybe you seek out a therapist. That's not you. And maybe, just maybe, you might need to pause your services because remember, therapy is a lot of clearing up bags. Coaching is looking forward to the future. We don't stay in the clearing bag area. Now, when you do an intake for a coaching client, it doesn't mean that the baggage won't come up. The thing is, we're not living there. We're living in what do you want in your future in a particular area. Does that make sense? So make sure you remember that. All right. All right. Number 4, I shouldn't have to say it, but it's confidentiality across all services that you provide. This should be in your confidentiality statement for your private practice, but of course also for coaching. It should not look like the consent form for therapy. All right. This is why we often encourage therapists, especially if you're not doing something like I'm doing, like business coaching and things like that. You definitely want to look into certification. I'll link up a video. It's a program that I affiliate with in which they train you for, I believe, 6 months or more on different modalities of coaching. And the person who runs the program is a mental health license provider in New York. She wants to make sure to protect your license as well. But she also knows that there's a lot of therapists who do therapy-like things in coaching. I do business coaching, right? I do online entrepreneurship, digital product coaching. I don't coach therapists on how to do therapy as coaching. So if it looks the same, she can help you with that, right? But you do want to make sure that when you're building your coaching business, that a part of your checklist is that you want to make sure that your clients sign an agreement and understand that the information that you're sharing with them will be confidential. Now here, this is where it gets blurry. If you are asking them for a testimonial, you need to ask them for the testimonial. If it's not embedded in your coaching agreement, they need to give you a signature. That's just my belief. There are a lot of people online right now just sharing people's information. Nobody ain't never wrote it in the terms and conditions. Nobody has ever signed off on a coaching agreement, but yet you're sharing testimonials. Now a lot of my clients don't even realize that it's in the coaching agreement. It's in the terms and conditions for every single program and product that I have. It's at all of our live events. Terms and conditions. Terms and conditions are you have to check a box to say that you agree and you read it. If you didn't read it, that's not my problem, right? So in my terms and conditions, I have what's called a multimedia waiver, which means that anything that happens in my event and on these coaching calls can be used as marketing material. Now, let me be clear. My clients get vulnerable. I don't dare share their personal things that they share with me, either in our one-on-one mastermind program or even in our live events or on our virtual calls. We literally had a mastermind 3 years ago in Vegas, and we laugh to this day when it comes up like, dang, we had a photographer, we had a videographer, and your girl can't use no footage other than the footage that I caught on my phone. Why? Because it was so, in a very clearly positive and cathartic way, emotional. Because they saw the tremendous growth that they had done in a year, and it was crazy. So they got vulnerable. Tears, all hours of the 2 days. So I'm not going to put that online because they were saying some personal things. So of course you want to not be negligent and blast your clients, but a regular testimonial, for example, what are they getting out of their program, the wins that they have. I'm even careful not to share money wins unless they have shared it on a video. Then I will repeat it verbally. But outside of that, have your paperwork in order. You can't just, or you shouldn't just roll out of bed and say I'm doing coaching and I'm just going, talk online. Like, absolutely not. All right, number 5 is avoiding exploitation. So let me read this one. People are going to be vulnerable, especially even in coaching, right? So transitioning therapy clients into coaching relationships poses a risk, which is why I just say don't do it, right? And the reason I am talking about this as well is because even though I use the word ethical versus unethical, the truth of the matter is this is a very new area in the mental health field where a lot of therapists are starting to do it, but there has of yet, thank goodness, been an issue where it has resulted in a lawsuit, because that's where our ethical code comes from. All it takes, though, is one person to mess this up. But it doesn't mean that you should not be properly informed, properly educated, properly trained, right? So therapists must be careful that when they transition, if they choose a therapy client in a coaching, it could pose a risk if the client perceives the switch as a power imbalance or feels pressure to continue working with the therapist. Therapists should avoid exploiting the vulnerability of clients for financial or other gains, meaning they went from therapy to coaching like Sally, and then a therapist, it may not be direct, but you may see it as dollar signs like, oh my gosh, for therapy, they were paying $150. For my coaching container, it's like $1,500 for 4 sessions, whatever that breaks down to in math. So Sally may say, I need a break. I've been done therapy for 2 years. I've been doing coaching with you for like 90 days. I need a break just to like breathe and to incorporate and to implement. And then the therapist or the coach, sorry, see how confusing that is? The coach will then say, no, we need to go for another 90 days because you just had a breakthrough. The client may feel like because you were also their therapist and whatever came up in that therapeutic relationship, we all know is different, right? That they owe you something. They don't want to tell you no. That's why I say stay away from it. Okay? All right, let's go on to the next one, number 6, marketing and representation. So, therapists must be careful with how they market their services. Misrepresenting coaching as therapy or failing to disclose the therapist's dual roles, for example, if you market both on one platform, could lead to ethical issues or even false advertising claims. Marketing materials should clearly differentiate coaching from therapeutic services. I pretty much said this over and over. We're just taking it slower and calling it something with a different number. Okay? At the end of the day, when you market your services, your clientele might be the same. But how are your services rendered differently? What is the scope of practice? How does this not look like therapy? So we had a coaching call in our Dope Therapist Academy probably last year. And one of my admin team members had actually looked it up because I said there was a celebrity that it went online viral. And I don't want to say the person's name, but it was a well-known female artist, rap artist. And she thought the whole time that she was in services that she was seeing a therapist when she was seeing a coach, a life coach. The person did not disclose. Now, I don't know if this person was a therapist, but the problem is in our industries, even a life coach, I would think, should know when their scope of practice should end. When should they refer a client out? So as a therapist, you want to do your due diligence to let people know, yes, even if you're writing an ebook for a digital product, y'all, yes, I am a mental health provider, but I'm not your therapist. You are a consumer of this ebook. If you host an online workshop, you are the facilitator of the workshop. You're not the therapist of the workshop. You want to be very clear. Anytime you open your mouth, anytime you do any type of services, as soon as people vet you as a mental health provider, that is what you are first. Period, point blank. So you want to make it very clear. Does that mean you need to separate your social media pages? Maybe talk to a marketing expert. See what is happening with either the synchronicities or the confusion of your audience. If you notice that you're starting to get referrals and they're asking for coaching, but they need to be in therapy, ask them where they found out about you. If they found out about you through your Instagram page and you go and look at your Instagram page and you can't tell the difference, that is the problem. Because you got one bio. How do you capture that bio, right? So these are things, again, that we overlook that are very simple, but that could damage your entire reputation. And matter of fact, it could take your whole license. All right, so lastly is number 7, and I alluded to this earlier. You do want to assess for the readiness of coaching, or should someone be in therapy? So I'm going to close this out by giving you an example of how I coached one of our mastermind students of how to decide where to place this client. So the client found them online. My coaching client wasn't even really advertising coaching, but they saw that they did coaching with maybe some words on the website, just not a lot of details. So the person called and did a consultation. So we're in a coaching call on Zoom. In our mastermind, they do get one-on-one access. And the clinician had said, hey, I have a question. I had a client that I did a consultation with, and I told them I would get back to them. I wanted to do some consultation to make sure that they're in the right services, etc. So they came in for coaching, but they didn't really know what they were a great fit for. And they were asking me, should they do therapy or should they do coaching? So I said, can you give me a little bit about their presentation? So it does feel a little bit like clinical supervision, but I'm doing this to protect the clinician. So they told me a little bit about the presenting problem. And I said, well, what does your clinical gut tell you? If you had to choose which one they needed right now first, which one would it be? And she said, oh, hands down, therapy. I said, well, that's your answer. So why were you second guessing this answer? And she said, because they asked for coaching. I said, but what clinically do they need? You're the professional. They don't know. They weren't trained to do a consultation and intake. You were. So if you deem that clinically it would be in their best interest to clear out their baggage so that when they do coaching, they can actually do coaching and move forward, then you need to recommend therapy. She said, well, what if I want to be their coach? Well, then you need to recommend that they go see a therapist and that they hit you up when they're ready for coaching. Well, I want to work with them now. Well, then you can be their therapist, but you shouldn't be their coach. I didn't say can't, because at the end of the day, therapists going to do whatever they want to do anyway. But I will state my piece when I feel like as a therapist, you teeter-tottering on, you know what I'm saying, you being the poster child as to why we got this new ethical rule. You know what I'm saying? And I don't want anybody in our community being a poster child for a lawsuit. So if you feel like they should clinically be in therapy, you either offer your therapy services or you send them someplace else. And if you know the order of where they should go first, which is clearly clearing out baggage so that they can move forward and don't have to keep going back, then that means they need to contact you at a later date. So with that said, I really hope that you've enjoyed this video. I hope that you have gotten a lot of gems. I know you did, you know what I'm saying? And so if you like content like this, please make sure to subscribe to this channel, thumbs up this video. I would really appreciate it if you would comment below and tell me what was your biggest takeaway or aha moment from what I shared. Do you have a coaching business as a therapist? Do you want one? Where are you in your business journey? And depending on when you are watching this video, we had what's called a pre-release glow up party where we talked all about scalability and we dropped some huge news. Okay. So if you want to hear more about the news, I will make sure to link up that video below. Also, okay, you do want to, if you want to scale and learn how to build a profitable coaching business as a therapist that's ethically compliant, and you want to build out the systems for it, and or you even want to have a group practice, either or. Our program is now open up for enrollment. That was some of the information that we were talking about on the Glow Up release party. And if you want to apply to be a part of our very selective, very luxury boutique style mastermind, then you definitely want to check out the information in the description box. This is a program that only opens up one time a year. We are very selective. There is an interview process because we want the best of the best mental health providers in there because it is a mastermind, which means you come together as one to help scale each other's business. All right. So if you would like to learn more about our elite therapist coaching mastermind, make sure to check out the release party. We have some fun assessments in there so that you can see how on point or how far off you are from scaling your existing solo private practice or mental health business. But also, again, I would love to have you back. Thank you so much for tapping in. And until the next one, I will see you in the next video. Bye.